So like and subscribe if you want to. Today I want to talk about 5 players on ESPN Fantasy that I think you should trade away if you have them on your team. So if you already saw, I made a video called 5 players that I think you should trade for. So this is kind of the antithesis to that video. So yeah, let's get right into it. So as usual on the channel, we're going to start with the player that's the thumbnail of this video, and that's CJ McCollum of the Portland Trailblazers. So like I said, with players that are playing like garbage, those are the players you want to trade for. When you have players that are balling out of control like CJ McCollum, those are the players you want to trade away. Now CJ McCollum is putting up 27 points a game and shooting 40% from three on 11 attempts a game. Now those numbers are just inssustainable. He cannot keep this up, and that's why you should trade him. Like you want to get max value for your players, and he's not going to be putting up any better numbers than this. Like this is like best case scenario for CJ McCollum. So yeah, I'd go ahead and trade him before the inevitable dip comes in his production. So the next player that you should trade away comes in the wake of the James Harden trade, and that's Andre Drummond of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, somehow Cleveland finessed getting Jared Allen out of this trade by only giving up Dante Exum and Milwaukee's pick, which I don't really know how they got away with that because Jared Allen's a really good center. But anyway, the fact remains to be seen is that I don't think there's any conceivable way that Andre Drummond is still on this roster by the end of the season. So Jared Allen's clearly their center of the future, and they just don't really have a need for Drummond anymore. I mean, he's still a good rebounder. His steals and block rates are okay, but when you have a really young, really good center, then you don't really have any need for Andre Drummond, especially since they're not trying to win any championships anytime soon. So yeah, I would go ahead and trade Drummond before he gets traded to another team and his production goes down by by quite a bit, I would imagine, just because he's not going to be asked to do so much on the offensive end and he's not going to get as many touches. So yeah, Andre Drummond is the next player that you should trade away. Actually, one last thing that I want to mention about him is that while he is an elite rebounder, I feel like if he gets traded to a team that actually needs a center, like my Celtics, for example, that he's not going to grab as many rebounds just because they're not so interested in his stat padding and just more want to win games. So, yeah. This is the most important player in all of fantasy that I think you should trade away right now, and that's DeAndre Hunter at the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I don't know why so many people have this idea that he is a good fantasy player. Like, he's playing well right now, I'll give him that, but like, if there is anyone that you have on your team that you should trade away at this very instant, it is DeAndre Hunter. Now, you might be asking me, why am I so adamant that you should trade him? And it's just his shooting splits. Like, he's shooting 50, 40, and nearly 90. Like, he's almost in the 50, 40, 90 club. DeAndre Hunter is not that good of a shooter. He's not going to sustain this for the season, I promise you. And this is just the ideal, like, situation for him. And, like, I can barely call it ideal because it's just unrealistic. Like, Gallo's going to be back into the lineup soon. And even if he's not back into the lineup, like, it doesn't even matter. DeAndre Hunter is not going to keep up this kind of production. So please trade DeAndre Hunter is what I'm getting at if he's on your team. Like, whatever. This is as high as his value will ever get. Please trade him away. So in a similar fashion to Hunter, the next player that I think you should trade away is Kelvin Johnson of the San Antonio Spurs. Now, like Hunter, he's a young player that's putting up great numbers, but I just don't think it's sustainable for a whole season from him. Like, we haven't seen that much out of him in the past previous season to suggest that he would make this kind of a leap out of nowhere. And usually those kind of leaps just aren't that reliable. So I think you should trade him now because this is as high as his fantasy value will get, and you might as well just maximize the return you'll get on him. So if you made it this far into the video, then I know you actually care about fantasy and are more of an experienced player. So that's why I left the very last pick to be one that's kind of more of a difficult decision. So that's Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets. Now he was playing really well before he caught the Rona, so that's why it's a big risk to try to trade him away. But I just feel like the production he had before, I don't think he'll match that when he gets back for the whole season, just because Jamal Murray's still trying to find his role into their offense, and same with Jokic. I mean, the Nuggets haven't been winning a lot of games, so they're just really trying to figure things out right now, especially with Will Barton entering the lineup again too. That's going to eat into Michael Porter Jr.'s minutes. So yeah, I would definitely try to trade him away, but I don't know. It kind of depends on the team and what you can get in return for him. Like, that's what I mean. This is a hard decision, and that's why I left it for last. So I kind of leaves this one up to your guys' discretion. So yeah, if you have any players that you think should be traded away from everyone's team, feel free to comment them down below, and we can all just have a discussion and try to get on the same page. And I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you guys all have a great day.